Welcome to another episode of the Healing Broken Families podcast. I'm Barbara Lapointe, and I host conversations on divorce, parental alienation, and high conflict personalities. I am so thrilled and in gratitude to be sitting down today with Kristen Noel. She is a certified intuitive life coach and the co-founder of Best Self Media and editor-in-chief of Best Self magazine. Her and her husband, Bill, are the founders of the Intuitive Divorce, a coaching program for heart-centered parents. And I'm going to say that very slowly again, the Intuitive Divorce. Personally, I feel so calmed when I say those words, the Intuitive Divorce, even though it may seem slightly counterintuitive. We're going to talk more about that. But first, the Intuitive Divorce helps parents in the early stages of divorce take control of their divorce and save time, money, and heartache for their family. Wow. Welcome, Kristen. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here. And thank you for your beautiful work in the world, and especially in this realm, which is a difficult realm of upheaval and a lot of upset.
Yeah, and that's why I was so relieved and really just really excited to see a program called the Intuitive Divorce as it was hopeful and also as a solution. But at the same time, it felt a little bit counterintuitive. And I want to talk to you about that. But one thing I often tell women in divorce is take up your power. It's such a proactive process. I think women are surprised that it's not a passive process. Divorce is not a passive time. It's really a time of action and proactivity, basically. And maybe when we're not feeling like doing it. And when I was looking through your material, specifically your incredible masterclass for the Intuitive Divorce, I saw that you said that divorce is like a business. And I was like, yeah, it sure is like a business. So what are the real stakes, Kristen, in your view, when it comes to divorce?
How much time do you have? I mean, honestly, divorce is everything. It's everything. It encompasses every aspect of your life, right? It's like, I think that when people initially hear the word divorce or think of the term, they think of money, they think of lawyers, they think of court. But there's so much more. There's so much more that gets caught, it sort of just gets lost in the shuffle. That really, it's like anything else. I mean, I really feel like whether this is divorce or any sort of life upheaval, you're best served when you take a holistic approach and you look at everything. And while divorce certainly is about money and the law and court and getting good advice, we want to bring it back in to the intuitive component, because this is your life. This is your life. And you are going to be left to live with the ramifications of the choices and the decisions that you make. That also includes how you navigate this process, how you help your children navigate this process. There's so much at stake. And it is actually a choice. And this isn't woo-woo. This isn't like you cannot green juice your way out of this problem. But, and it is tactical. And, the thing is, I love how you brought that in right away about that it is a business. But, sometimes I think when we associate with business, it feels harsh and masculine and strong and sort of militant, right? But that's not the way we have to do business. It's not the way we have to do business. We can do business from the heart. We can do business intuitively, and we can be really successful. We can be really successful at it. So this is, both Bill and I have come out of long, drawn out, contentious divorces. We're way, way far on the other side of it. We had collectively 4 children who also went through that process. So we really have seen firsthand what the ramifications are, what's at stake, and how that, plays out many years down the line, down the road, and how it can be avoided, and how we can divorce differently. That's really the main thing, how we can live differently and how we can divorce differently.
And, I think that's what's really juicy right there. That's what got me going, okay, let's talk about getting divorced differently in a heart-centered way. That, I think the world is so hungry for what you're offering. We're so hungry for a different way to get divorced. So I'm going to ask you to hone in on intuition, because I believe our intuition can be a friend to us during divorce. But I invite you to tell me more about the intuitive part of it.
Again, I think, there's no denying that this is one of the biggest upheavals in life. I think it's like, when they list the highest stress inducing events of life, divorce is like number 2.
Right.
So they think this is big, right? This is big. It can put you into fight or flight, make you feel like, oh my God, it's just like, I've got to put the fires out that are everywhere, run around with an extinguisher, thinking that everything has to be done in that moment. I mean, first and foremost, what it means to be intuitive is, which we all are, by the way, it's really just like getting into that space of like, is this aligned with me? Are the words coming out of my mouth aligned with me? Are my thoughts aligned with me? Are my actions aligned with like how I want to show up in the world? And you might think, for someone that doesn't take the time to process that, you might think like, I'll deal with that cleanup later. But I promise you'll have cleanup. You'll have cleanup to do if you ignore, like, what is my gut telling me? What is my heart telling me? Don't be afraid to get out of your head and get into your heart. Because again, the choices that you make, here you are in this moment where maybe it could inarguably be one of the lowest points of your life, where you just feel broken open, confused, gutted, heartbroken, totally vulnerable, maybe like just scared to death, waking up in the middle of the night, not knowing what to do. And you're forced to make these decisions. Where am I going to live? How am I going to support myself? How am I going to tell my kids? What next? Just the list goes on and on. If you don't find a way to get back into your body, to get back into, just feeling what's happening. Like, you can go, and this is not to say, believe you me, have support, have a lawyer, have a child therapist, or, have a life coach, have people around you, build your team and your support. But ultimately remember that whatever choices you're going to make, you're the one that's living with them. You're the one that's going to have to answer for them, because everybody's going to go home at the end of the day, back to their lives. Right. So it really is about tapping back in. Being aligned with your intuition is also taking care of yourself in the process, because you have to, especially as a parent, you are setting the tone of the house. You are helping your children navigate this. And this is so much bigger than divorce. What people don't realize is that how we help our children navigate this life adversity is giving them the tools right then and there, no matter what age they are, to navigate the other adversity that they will come in contact with. And if they have tools and you give them tools, we were just on a call earlier. We have a client who has a 4-year-old, and she had me in tears. We were working with her for about 5 months, and she's just made it to the other end. And she's given her 4-year-olds. You can pare it down, give a 4-year-old tools that really help them navigate and understand. And then something else comes up later on. You sit them back down and say, hey, remember when we were talking about X, Y, and Z, and and it just becomes this fluid, ever-evolving conversation. Also, it's about your whole your well-being. your well-being, your nervous system, your health, your, body, mind, spirit. It really matters. You cannot push that to the side. If you can commit, if you can sort of take a pause, kind of just align with like, okay, I mean, and that's not to say this is not airy fairy roses and unicorns, like, this isn't happening, this isn't scary. I'm not talking about denial. I'm just talking about like, okay, this is what can I do in this moment? What can I do today? What's going to be best for the well-being of the whole house? And just make one right decision in this moment, not try to solve all the problems or all the situations or all the scenarios. But it's getting back into your heart, getting aligned with your gut, taking care of yourself, taking care of your children, being aware of the tone of the house. These strategies, I mean, there's really, forget about the money and the lawyers. If you don't take care of this, you're going to have a way bigger mess on the other side of it.
It's so true. I just want to jump in and underscore what you're saying as truly important, because what you're saying are not things that you're going to hear in your lawyer's office. Mm-hmm. They're just not things that you're going to hear in family court, mm-hmm. or any other mediator's office. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, if you go through this and you're having panic attacks and you're having high blood pressure, for example, you could go through divorce and come out of it with high blood pressure as your legacy gift to self. So I love that you're talking about self-care, mm-hmm. checking back in with your gut and checking back in with your intuition mm-hmm. and really aligning with those inner gifts that you have. But they come under fire a bit with all of the charged emotions during divorce. Like, mm-hmm. lawyers drive it forward. This is urgent, and decisions have to be made, and emotions are really, really high. So what mm-hmm. I hear you saying is you're helping women navigate all of this in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. First of all, this isn't to say that anybody has a nefarious agenda, but everybody involved, from the lawyers to the family court to the therapist to the doctors, everybody has an agenda. I'm not saying it's a bad agenda. I'm just saying it's an agenda. They have an agenda, and it's not a holistic approach, right? So, I mean, we can't get divorced without a lawyer or without a mediator or without the courts, right? But again, I just say, ultimately, we want to decide how we're going to get through this. Are these decisions aligned with who we are? Like, how am I going to feel? When you're in a highly charged thing, you can make decisions out of revenge. You can make decisions for the wrong reasons. You can make emotional decisions, highly charged emotional decisions that you regret. And I'm not saying we don't make mistakes or we don't make choices that we might have to go back and clean up or undo or try to fix, because that's human, right? But at the same time, it's about being intuitive, is learning to get centered and listen to yourself as the authority, really harnessing your superpower. You are the authority, even in your weakened state, finding a way to really settle into, does this feel right to me? That is, bar none, going to exceed what your lawyer tells you or whatever anyone else advises you. And yes, your lawyer, listen, plenty of times, a lawyer will call you up and say, we need a decision on this right away. Very few things need to be decided in that second. I actually find it the other way. I find it that you're usually waiting on the lawyers in the courts, and I think that we just don't know that we have the right to say, you know what, I just need to sit back for a minute. I just need to, someone calls you up. Thank you for passing this information along. I need to sit with this for a second. I need to process this. I'm not talking weeks. I'm not talking months. I'm just saying, and the more you do that, the more you hone that skill, the easier it will be for you to tune into that and to say, I'm not going to say that divorce is going to be necessarily a happy process, but is this a decision that feels aligned with the core of who I am and how I want to be in the world? And that, and that may be difficult if you're in a contentious divorce with, what did you say? I love how you said this in the bio. You deal with highly, what was it? Highly?
High conflict divorces and high conflict personalities.
Yes, high conflict personalities. When you're dealing with high conflict personalities, I always say, again, you may not be able to control that, but you can control your side of the street. You can control, and believe it or not, I really actually do believe, especially when it comes to children, somebody's got to take the high road. Somebody's got to take the right road where it comes to the children. So if at least one parent is doing it the right way, they may have an influence, trickle down influence on the other one. And we really encourage that. I mean, I know divorce is division, but it also, when you've got children in the middle, they didn't ask for this. They are at stake. They should not be used as pawns. They should not be used as, emotional blackmail. And the sooner parents can get clear on the first, especially like in this first really contentious, highly charged 100 days, it's a game changer. It is an absolute game changer. It can set the entire tone and foundation for all that's going to come, no matter how long it lasts.
Okay. Yeah. And you may have just answered this, but why are the first 100 days so critical? Is it because it's setting the tone?
Well, it for a lot of things, it's setting the tone for everything. It's setting the tone for how you are going to navigate this, how you are going to get it, how are you going to be on the other end of this? What happens if you do have a long, drawn out, contentious divorce? Are you willing to risk your body, mind, spirit, emotional well-being, health? I mean, like I said, you could screech in on two wheels, a frazzled, depleted mess, and the same with your children. Or are you going to learn the tools that are just going to help support you to make grounded choices that are aligned with you? Again, I'm not big into this is right, this is wrong, but I am into trying to get centered so that you can avoid the least amount of conflict. You're already in conflict, so you don't need to create more pollution, right? So how you behave with your children, how you help them navigate this adversity, what's the tone of the house, how much are they, getting clear on like, how am I going to keep the kids out of this? How am I going to, protect them from this? How am I going to explain this to them? How am I going to keep them out of mommy and daddy's, dirty business? Because it just depends. It depends on like what the situation is. But essentially, the first 100 days really set the tone. You set the tone with your lawyer. You set the tone that, yes, I defer to you for legal advice, but I'm going to make the final decision. Is this aligned with me? Does this feel right to me? Or you actually realize I can come back to my lawyer and say, well, this doesn't actually feel right. What about, or could we explore this? Use your voice, see what comes up, but it really, really matters, like how you get to the other end of this. What condition are you going to be in?
Absolutely. That's a great thing to consider. What condition might you be in at the end? And I often say the way things begin are often the way things end, or beginnings and endings have intimate connection. So I love that you're saying that the first 100 days of divorce are critical in setting that tone and using your own voice.
Yeah. And look, like I said, it's incredibly charged and incredibly difficult. And, you can run the gamut of emotions, and it's easy to look outward to everyone else for advice. But ultimately, you're living with the choices. You're living with the decisions that you're going to make. And you are the one that's going to be responsible and need to answer, how did I make it through this? How did my kids make it through this? What are we like on the other end? You're not going to escape it. You can't escape it'll come in different ways. I mean, for me, my lower back went out, I mean, things happen. You're not, your body will bark. You can't ignore, you can't ignore the whole of you. So to learn tools that, it's not going to take the pain of divorce away, but it's really going to help you stay grounded, really stay focused on what's the ultimate goal here and how do I want to feel? And, we always say, divorce is the mess of your life, but it's also the opportunity of a lifetime.
That's very hopeful.
Yeah.
Very hopeful because sometimes it doesn't feel like an opportunity when you're stuck down in that mess.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's obviously a lot of different circumstances. People come at this from different angles, different reasons. Some people initiated it. Some people, it got lumped on them or they were taken by surprise. But again, I always just like to use what happened to me instead of being used by it.
Right? Oh, yeah. I love that. Say that again for us.
So I like to use what happened to me, the life experiences, the mess, instead of being used by it. It's like, what can I do with this? How can I make some meaning out of this? It's like nobody gets married thinking they're going to get divorced. Nobody has kids thinking we're going to end up in a contentious divorce, but sometimes we do. And usually when we do the work and we've got a little hindsight into it, we will see, we talk now about consciously uncoupling, but we never look back to how we unconsciously coupled.
Oh, goosebumps,
right?
Kristen, true.
Right? So and it's okay. It's okay. I mean, no matter where you are, it's not like, and it's also, this is super, super important. It's not about blame, shame, beating yourself up. I'm such an idiot. I shouldn't have done this. He's such a jerk. Why didn't I see it? Just be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself during divorce and just say okay, I see it now. I see, I'm beginning to see it now, or I'm seeing a pattern. It's just information, but it is high stakes information, right? But use it. Use it. Don't be used by it. That's all. It's like, and I think Barbara, you and I were talking a little bit off camera before. It's making, make meaning of the mess.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to jump in here because, we will make meaning inevitably, but so empowering to listen to because we get to decide what meanings, what stories we're going to tell and what meanings we're going to make, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I like that you're talking about that.
No, it's true. I mean, listen, I remember they always say you create and you teach what you need, what you need to learn. I mean, this wasn't around. None of these programs, none of these divorce coaches were around when I was getting divorced. This is the information that I wish I had had. It would have saved me so much angst, so much wasted time beating myself up, so much time thinking I was a loser, that I was never going to find love again, that just life had passed me by. I skipped the happy boat. You know what I mean? It's like, we can tell ourselves these stories. It's a hard time. It's a hard time, but we can do hard things. We really can, just trust, we can trust in ourselves, but trusting in yourself means that you need to get still. You need to get quiet. You need to pause, and you need to tap back into your gut. What feels right to you. And then you ask yourself, how long has it been since I trusted my gut?
Oh, goosebumps again. How long has it been since I've trusted my gut? That's a really powerful question.
Well, I mean, for a lot of us, we were never taught this language.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think, I always, I say that I spent half my life looking for operating instructions, life's operating instructions that weren't given to me. And So you're always thinking like, I wish someone had told me this. I wish someone had told me this. I wish someone had, ultimately what I really wish someone had told me is, let me teach you how to just trust yourself. Let me teach you how to tap into your intuition. Let me teach you just to say like, does this decision feel resonant? Does it feel good? Does this not feel good? It's as simple as that. You can feel all decisions in your body. It's the same thing when you fall in love. You feel these butterflies. I'm so excited. I'm in love. You also can feel danger. You can also feel, no, this decision, this doesn't feel good. I'm not going to be proud of that decision. We just ignore it. We ignore it. We spend a lot of time in life just pushing that away. Like, oh, we can't bring our heart into the boardroom. We're supposed to keep these two separate things separate. But this is how we end up getting in this mess in the first place, because we weren't taught to trust ourselves. We weren't taught to say, or actually just admit, I made a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with admitting that you made a mistake. But when you're stepping into trusting yourself, as you're suggesting, and gaining these skills towards self-trust in the intuitive divorce, what are your clients getting, or what are you getting that's even more important when they step into self-trust?
I have a client who I had mentioned earlier. She has the 4-year-old son. Just working with her, I mean, when she came to us, like, she was at ground zero. It was the early stages, thank God, but she really was. It was really like it just felt like everything was all over the place, and we just dug in. We just talked about this piece and this piece and this, and it's practical and tactical when you're just like talking about the real stuff I'm dealing with. I really like, my kid. What am I going to say to my kid? My kid is, now having to go between two homes. All these practical, real things. But as soon as we started to really unpack that, the amazing thing is if you have a willingness to do that and you start to listen to yourself, the beautiful thing is that healing, it keeps trickling out, and it starts unpacking more and more and more and more and more. Like we're never really done healing, right? And I think once you just start digging a little bit, you suddenly say, oh, yeah, this connected to this, which connected to that, which connected to that. I see this pattern. When you start to make those kind of discoveries, guess what? You interrupt the pattern.
Right. Powerful.
So it's like you can use your divorce. You can use your divorce to interrupt all the patterns that got you here in the first place.
See, when you say that, I'm now starting to like open up to the opportunity of divorce. Whereas at the beginning of our conversation, it was a little fuzzy, like opportunity, but now I'm like getting excited just about the gifts that can be given to us during divorce, like trusting ourselves, because then we're empowered.
It's like home. It's a homecoming. It's a homecoming. I mean, again, I think for most of us, it's learning a new language, but ultimately we want to be happy. We want to be happy. We want to be loved. We want to be seen. We want to have our passions. We want to have our dreams. We want to heal. We don't want to live in the shadows. We don't want to be suppressed. We don't want to play small. We don't want to be vulnerable and hiding. And so I think, divorce happens for a reason. It's happening for a reason. I don't know what there's, myriad reasons, right, for each of us, but it is an opportunity. I mean, for you to understand what led up to this, why it led up to this, what was your role in it, and what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
And again, those kids there, they are stuck in the middle, watching everything, picking up on everything, and we need to just keep going back to that. What do we want them to see? What do we want to model? What do we want to teach them? What do we want them, obviously they've got their own life path and their own life lessons, but I always love to believe that there's this sort of like evolution of, from one generation to the next. And I want to believe that I've passed on tools to my son that, we've broken patterns. We've cut some lineage cords, right? We're not going to repeat this.
Yeah, that's very exciting and empowering too.
Mm-hmm.
So as you do that inner work in the intuitive divorce, even if you don't, your children just sort of feel it energetically.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to say to your child, I've just lost like 75% of my self-esteem bank.
Hey, that's good. I lost 100, I know.
They feel it. And in the same token, like what you're saying is they will also feel it as you start to heal. They just sort of energetically heal along with you. And those generational lineage ties, as you so beautifully said, start to crack and break apart.
And now this is not about leaning on them as a crutch, but they also really help you heal. Because if you really consciously parent during this, which I'm not saying is so easy, but we actually have a lot of practical ways of engaging your children, in really healthy communication, but also in self-care and in running your house and in how to speak to them and how to talk to them, talk their way through this. There's this beautiful reciprocity between parent and child, and we're really helping each other. So that's why the first 100 days, it's a very critical time. Because it's going to set that foundation. If you can, one thing I want to say is, I know that when people are in the height of this, they're thinking, "Oh my God, the last thing I can do right now is worry about self-care. I don't have time to journal and go to yoga class and make green juices." And we understand that. We understand there's a lot going on, but there really are sort of non-negotiable ways that you want to implement into your family's life to smoothly navigate this and to set the tone and to build on it. It's like, we just start somewhere. It doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to, I'm not expecting, miraculous shifts in every aspect of your life, but there are many, many ways that you can just implement small shifts that will have massive impact on, great change.
I couldn't agree more with you. Just to get that healing, you get some momentum going, and self-care is deep. Like there's a lot of aspects to it beyond green juice. Although we do love green juice, but yeah, I really hear you saying there's a lot of opportunities to deepen self-care in the intuitive divorce, and I saw that too when I was taking your masterclass. That's really cool. Let's just chat a little bit, switch gears here. And I know you're the editor-in-chief for Best Self magazine. What was, tell us a little bit about that and how it influenced the intuitive divorce program.
Well, we started Best Self magazine probably about 7.5 years ago. It just was a labor of love. We really wanted to immerse ourselves in this wellness world, holistic health and conscious living. And, and again, I go back to, we created what we needed to learn. When I think back to, when I live in Woodstock, New York, in the mountains. And when I first moved here 16 years ago, I wasn't drinking green juices, and I wasn't eating kale, and I wasn't taking yoga classes. It's like life and you're healing. It's just, following the breadcrumbs step by step. I wasn't really that connected to nature. I feel like a different person, in a lot of ways, but I think we were creating something of meaning, something of purpose, and also something to really show people how they could make small shifts in their life, and have a great impact on the whole, and that also we can't really compartmentalize ourselves, right? I think we sometimes think like, I got to just deal with this thing first and then I'll get to this later. And things sometimes get off balance, but this was really about embodying a holistic approach. And it's been an amazing journey. And then I think, like any other project, once you start doing something, it just starts leading you in another direction. I've always had the greatest respect for life coaches. And, of course, the voices in my head told me, it's too late, you're too old, that ship has passed. And, because I kind of dabbled a couple times thinking, I want to do this. And, something else just got in the way. And I finally, actually, this was a sort of a COVID thing. I finally took an intuitive life coaching certification program for a year and finally sat down to write my memoir. And those two things really informed each other. I felt that the coaching was helping the book and the book was helping the coaching, which is really the way everything works. Yeah. Everything that we do kind of leads us, sometimes just take a step, right? You take a step, you think, oh, I want to go into this career. Just take the step. Maybe you're not going to stay in there, or maybe it's going to open up a million other doors, or maybe it's going to show you another path. And that's kind of what happened. So then we just started, as we went from, best self to the intuitive coaching to best self media and creating programs. The intuitive coaching just opened up this idea for us about divorce. And we really, we lived it. We're way on the other side of it. As they say, don't write don't write when you're in the heat of the fire, but more when you're on the other side of it. Not, I heard a great quote recently, don't write from the wound, write from the scar.
Oh, that's fabulous.
And we just felt really called to do this. And then Bill and I had been working on separate projects for a little bit, and we really love working. We loved collaborating. So when we're in Best Self magazine, we're really working together all the time. And he actually came up with this and was starting to get the balls rolling. And I thought, hold on a minute, what are you doing? I want to be doing this too, and we just started creating, we just dove in, started creating, started writing, started coaching, which is really the best way, just to get right into it and work with someone who was right in the thick of it. And it really informed this program, which is, I would honestly say, probably the most near and dear to our heart, because again, we really feel like we both have been through this experience. We know how highly charged it is. We know how ugly it can be. And we know how it doesn't have to be that way. That's the other thing. We know how you can take all these other pieces, parts, and information, and how you can shapeshift this, and it doesn't have to be that experience.
Yeah, I think your project is kind of exactly how you're describing it to be, because I felt so intuitively invited to I want to see what this is about and what could this offer. And I think, as I said earlier, we really need a different way to get divorced. And it's just a bubbly, healing, sort of huge offering that you've brought together with the magazine and with the intuitive divorce coaching program and your amazing masterclass. It's a different pathway that a woman or man could go down, because there's enough, there's plenty of people going down that other turn wheel where they're just getting destroyed in their divorce, and their children are getting destroyed, and they're losing, what did you say? Losing money, losing heart. Losing
everything, losing time, money, time, and well-being.
And well-being.
I mean, and that's priceless, your well-being. I mean, and it literally doesn't have to be that way. It literally does not have to be that way. It's really about empowering people in a moment where they feel so powerless to just realize that, whoa, hold on a second. It doesn't have to be this way. And you can do it differently. And it can be incredibly effective. By the way, the person that I was, the client that I was telling you about,
yes,
not only, she actually is not officially divorced, because, that can drag out in the court, but she managed to, not only did she go through this in a grounded way, she's actually thriving. She's actually thriving through this process because she really developed, she dove in, she was willing to do, we were on weekly calls, but she dove into doing the work, and her kid is doing amazingly. Her business just completely took off and was thriving. Everything is connected. Everything is interconnected. So I always say she's like my poster child for all the right things to do during the process, because she showed up. She just said, okay, I just want to get through this in the best way possible. And they went to a mediator. They didn't waste, hundreds of thousands of dollars, in legal fees, because that's all fighting does. Endless fighting equals endless legal bills. So it's like, where do you want your money to go? Where do you want your well-being to go? Where do you want your time spent? These really are choices. We feel powerless, but these are our choices. These are our choices.
Could not agree more with you. And so it's wonderful to just feel grounded and remember that we have some autonomy in our choice making in divorce, and to know that we can go a different way and reach out to intuitive divorce. And it's very, very, very exciting. I want to give you a couple of moments just to share an offer or invite someone to reach out to you. Like, how would our audience connect with the incredible intuitive divorce?
I think the best way for them to reach out to us is to go through the free masterclass. They'll really get a sense of what we are offering and what our philosophy is and the direction. And that's, Best Self Intuitive Divorce. Yes, bestselfintuitivedivorce.com. And that's where they'll find the masterclass. And that will really give them a sense of, what our philosophy is. We're not about fighting. We're not about revenge. We're not about laying over and being a doormat. We're really about empowering people in a time that they feel powerless, and really helping them navigate from a heart-centered place, from an intuitive place, so that they can make sustainable choices. And through our coaching program, believe you me, we talk about all the things that people need to talk about. We talk about money, we talk about lawyers, we talk about the strategies, but there are ways of navigating all of those things from your heart, making those choices that feel aligned with you, that you really can feel proud of. That's really, it's, again, not about revenge, not about getting back at someone.
What a miracle. What a miraculous shift to align with your core values.
Right. And this is not just about divorce. These are tools. These are life tools, life skills that, like, you could literally, like I always say, pull the label off divorce and plunk another life adversity in there. These same tools will help you navigate that, will help you navigate whatever comes your way. Because we don't get through life unscathed. That's just not the way it works. But it's how we get through it, and how do we want to get through, and recognizing that we have the choice, that we can do it differently, that we really can take back our power.
I'm telling you, that is resonating right here in my heart chakra, taking back our power and living in our power. And I know how important it is to step into that, live in your power. And it's all possible with your program, the intuitive divorce, Kristen. What a legacy work you and your amazing husband, Bill, are creating. Yeah, it's been an honor to connect with you.
Thank you. And again, thank you for doing this and for doing this work. And like I said, let's make meaning from the mess. We've all been there. We've made our mistakes. We've been through the pain. If I can impart any wisdom and save anyone from some of the pain that we went through, or some of the pain our children went through, that would be the greatest gift in the world.
It is. And as you said earlier, our children are watching us and they're feeling us, even more importantly. So the intuitive divorce, I love it. And I encourage everyone watching to reach out sooner than later. Those first 100 days, as Kristen said many times, are critical. And I agree. It sets the tone for everything. Kristen, it's been such a pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine, really.
Thank you. And that's all we have time for today on the Healing Broken Families podcast, where I host conversations on divorce, parental alienation, and high conflict personalities. Evolve your consciousness by loving yourself more, healing, and evolving your soul with the Healing Broken Families podcast and with folks like Kristen and her amazing husband, Bill. We can do this. Until next time, I'm Barbara Lapointe. Namaste.